I need to tell someone about what happened to me in Steal A Brainrot. I'm still shaking as I talk about this, and I keep checking over my shoulder even though I logged out hours ago. What I experienced, it wasn't supposed to be possible. But I have screenshots, I have recordings, and most terrifying of all, I think it's still happening. And I think they're still watching. It started 2 weeks ago when I finally saved up enough Robux to buy my own private server. I'd been grinding on public servers for months, constantly getting my rare brain rot stolen by other players, never able to build up enough cash for the really valuable characters. You know how it is in those 8-player servers. Total chaos. The moment you stepped away from your base to grab a spawning character from the red conveyor belt, someone would teleport to your base and clean you out. This time will be different, I told myself as I clicked the 100 Robux purchase button. My own server, my own rules. The server loaded, and I spawned at base 1, looking out over that familiar panopticon layout. 8 bases arranged in a perfect circle around the central hub, where the red conveyor belt waited under those massive digital countdown timers. Everything looked normal. The 2 shops flanking the conveyor, the rainbow machine positioned near the center, the spawn ramp where the brain rot characters would appear. But something felt different. Maybe it was just the silence. No other players running around, no chat spam, no constant notifications about theft attempts. Just me alone in this perfect digital arena. I started with the basics, buying a few commons to get my income flowing. Trippy Troppy appeared first on the conveyor, that weird blue shark with 3 legs wearing Nike sneakers. $1 per second wasn't much, but it was a start. Then Tung 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 Sahur, the anthropomorphic drum holding a baseball bat. $3 per second. The AI-generated designs still unsettled me, even after months of playing. There's something about the way these characters exist in that uncanny valley between animal and object, organic and digital. The developers really captured that Italian brain rot aesthetic perfectly. Too perfectly. Within an hour, I had a decent collection running. About $50 per second from various commons and uncommons. I was patient, waiting for my first rare to spawn. The timer above the conveyor showed next rare, 4:23. This is perfect, I thought, watching my cash counter climb. No one to steal from me, no rush to grab spawns before someone else. I can actually build something here. That's when I noticed the first anomaly. At exactly 4:23, Bombardiro Crocodilos spawned on the conveyor. A rare tier crocodile bomber plane hybrid worth $50 per second base income. I ran to grab it, but as I reached the conveyor belt, I noticed something strange. The character had a gold mutation, the shimmering effect that increases income by 1.25 times. But that wasn't the weird part. The weird part was that I could swear I'd seen this exact character before. Same mutation, same positioning on the belt, same grotesque smile on its crocodile bomber face. Déjà vu, I told myself. All these brain rot characters look similar anyway. But then it happened again. Godzilla Jr. spawned at the next uncommon timer, also with a gold mutation. And Skibidizza, the Pizza Cat hybrid, appeared with diamond mutation 1.5x income at exactly the time my mental countdown predicted. I started taking screenshots, comparing them to earlier spawns. The patterns were identical, not just similar, identical. Same characters, same mutations, same spawn positions down to the pixel. Maybe it's a bug with private servers, I reasoned, though my stomach was starting to twist with unease. The RNG seed must be locked or something. But deep down, I knew this wasn't normal. In all my months of playing Steal A Brainrot, I'd never seen such precise repetition. The spawn system was supposed to be truly random, with characters appearing based on complex probability calculations. I decided to test it. I set a timer for the next legendary spawn every 5 minutes, like clockwork. At exactly 17:34 server time, Los Tralaleritos materialized on the conveyor belt. My blood went cold. Los Tralaleritos is a secret tier character. It's not supposed to spawn during regular legendary cycles. Secrets have their own spawn windows, 30 to 45 minutes for most, longer for the really rare ones. And Los Tralaleritos, with its $100 million per second income, only appears when specific conditions are met. But there it was, floating on the red conveyor belt, its twisted Italian brain rot form pulsing with that familiar secret tier aura. And it had a rainbow mutation, the 10x income multiplier that would make it worth $1 billion per second. I ran to grab it, my character's footsteps echoing strangely in the empty server. As my avatar touched the character and it transferred to my inventory, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the game. Because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't supposed to be able to afford this. Los Tralaleritos with rainbow mutation should have cost me everything I had and more. In normal gameplay, secret characters require specific achievements, rebirth levels, or massive cash investments, but it just appeared in my inventory, free, like the game wanted me to have it. My income counter exploded from $150 per second to over $1 billion per second. Numbers I'd never seen outside of YouTube videos from players who'd been grinding for years, who'd gone through multiple rebirths and invested hundreds of dollars in Robux. "This has to be a bug," I whispered to my empty room, but I couldn't bring myself to log out. The temptation was too strong. With income like this, I could afford anything in the game. I started buying other characters from the shop, building an army of brain rots around my base. La Vaca Saturno Saturnita, with its $50 million base income. Bambino Tremendino, with its reality warping abilities, characters that should have taken weeks to afford. But the more I bought, the stranger things became. Each character I placed seemed to watch me. Not in the normal idle animation way, actually watch. Their AI-generated eyes would track my movement across the base, their grotesque hybrid forms shifting slightly to maintain line of sight. And they were all mutated, every single one. Gold, diamond, rainbow, mutations that should appear maybe 10% of the time were happening on 100% of my characters. It was statistically impossible. That's when I noticed the chat log. I'd been so focused on building my collection that I hadn't been paying attention to the server chat. But now I saw messages I didn't remember typing. Sigma Grinder 2009, the collection grows stronger. Sigma Grinder 2009, they hunger for more. Sigma Grinder 2009, feed them, feed them, feed them. My username, my account, messages I'd never sent. My hands were shaking as I checked my keyboard. Had I been typing without realizing it? Some kind of unconscious gameplay behavior? But then more messages appeared. Sigma Grinder 2009, you chose this server for a reason. Sigma Grinder 2009, you knew what you would find here. Sigma Grinder 2009, they've been waiting for someone like you. What the hell? I said aloud, frantically checking my keyboard and mouse. I wasn't typing, I wasn't clicking, but the messages kept coming, each one more disturbing than the last. Sigma Grinder 2009, look at your collection. Sigma Grinder 2009, really? Look at them. Sigma Grinder 2009, do you see it now? I turned my camera toward my base, where dozens of mutated brain rot characters stood in perfect formation. And that's when I saw what the chat was trying to tell me. They weren't just watching me anymore. They were communicating with each other. The characters' eyes would flicker in patterns. 3 quick blinks from Los Tralaleritos, answered by 2 slow blinks from La Vaca Saturno Saturnita. Bambino Tremendino's reality warping aura would pulse in rhythm with the others' movements. They were using their animations to send signals across my base. AI characters don't do this, I whispered. But even as I said it, I knew I was lying to myself. These weren't normal AI characters anymore. Something had changed them. Or maybe they'd always been like this, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The server timer showed next blood moon 023. I'd been playing for exactly 2 hours and 21 minutes, almost a full cycle. I'd never experienced a blood moon event in a private server before. Usually, they were chaotic affairs in public servers, with all 8 players rushing to grab the special blood rot mutations that doubled income. But I was alone. Who would compete with me for the special spawns? At exactly 2:44 a.m. server time, the world turned red. The sky shifted from its normal blue to deep crimson. The lighting changed, casting long shadows that seemed to move independently of their sources. The red conveyor belt now pulsed with an angry glow, and new characters began spawning faster than I'd ever seen. But these weren't normal blood moon spawns. The first character to appear was Terrorino Supremo, a secret tier I'd never seen before, not in any wiki or YouTube video. It looked like a fusion of every horror movie monster you could imagine, with galaxy-patterned skin and eyes that seemed to stare directly through the screen at me. The character description read, "Born from the fears of lonely players, grows stronger with each stolen moment of peace." "That's not a real character," I said, but my voice cracked. The game's wiki showed over 200 documented brainrot characters, and I'd memorized most of them. Terrorino Supremo wasn't on any list. More impossible characters began spawning. Isolated Angelo with its income listed as unknown. Watching Waitero that seemed to move even when I wasn't looking at it. Privacy Invadero, whose description simply read, "He knows you're alone." Each one had a galaxy mutation, the rarest enhancement that multiplied income by 3.5x. But their income rates weren't numbers anymore. They showed symbols, infinity signs, question marks, and what looked like coordinates. I took a screenshot of Privacy Invadero's income display, 37.2387 degrees north, 121.985, 4 degrees west. My hands went numb. Those were GPS coordinates, and they were local, very local. I opened Google Maps in another tab and entered the coordinates. The pin dropped on a house 3 blocks from my apartment. "This isn't possible," I whispered, but I was already checking the other characters' income displays. More coordinates, all within a 5-mile radius of my location. The game knew where I lived. I tried to close the game, tried to shut down my computer, but nothing responded. The blood moon event had taken over my entire system, the crimson glow spilling beyond the game window onto my desktop. New chat messages appeared, but not from my account this time. "Terrorino Supremo, we've been watching your gameplay. Isolated. Angelo, such dedication, such loneliness. Watching. Waitero, perfect candidate for the permanent collection. Privacy. Invadero, we know you live at my actual address." I jerked back from my computer screen. This was impossible. Roblox games can't access your real location. They can't send messages from NPC accounts. They can't take over your system. But as I watched in horror, the impossible characters began moving toward the edge of my screen, not toward my base in the game, toward the actual edges of my monitor. Their grotesque forms pressed against the glass like they were trying to break through into my room. "Terrorino Supremo, you wanted a private server. Isolated. Angelo, you wanted to be alone with us. Watching Waitero, now you'll never be alone again." The screen flickered, and for just a moment I saw my own room reflected in the monitor. But I wasn't alone in the reflection. dark shapes stood behind me, shadows that looked disturbingly similar to the Brainrot characters on screen. I spun around, my room was empty, but when I turned back to the computer, the shadows were still there in the reflection, clearer now. Los Tralaleritos stood by my bedroom door. La Vaca Saturno Saturnita hovered near my window, and Terrorino Supremo was reaching toward me through the screen. "This isn't real," I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to myself. "This is just a game, just a stupid Roblox game about Italian brainrot memes." But then my computer speakers crackled to life and I heard something that made my blood freeze. Voice chat in my private server. But I was supposed to be alone. Multiple overlapping voices, distorted and wrong. Collection complete. Time for transfer. The voices weren't coming through my headset, they were coming from behind me. I tried to run, but my legs felt like lead. The room seemed to stretch and distort, like I was viewing it through the lens of an AI image generator. Colors bled into each other, edges became soft and undefined, and that awful, uncanny valley feeling washed over everything. My computer screen showed a new interface I'd never seen before, not part of Steal A Brainrot's normal UI. It looked like some kind of transfer protocol, with progress bars and technical readouts that hurt to look at directly. Subject analysis, complete isolation. Confirmed, check mark behavioral patterns, optimal for collection transfer, initiating. Transfer of what? I managed to whisper. But deep down I already knew the coordinates, the surveillance, the impossible spawns. This wasn't about collecting brainrot characters anymore. I was being collected. The progress bar filled slowly, 15%, 23%, 10%. With each percentage point I felt something leaving me. Memories became fuzzy. The layout of my room seemed less familiar. Even my own name felt uncertain on my tongue. But my knowledge of Steal A Brainrot became crystal clear. I could see every character's spawn pattern, every mutation probability, every economic strategy. The game's information was replacing my personal memories bit by bit. 47%, 55%, 62%. The reflection in my monitor showed the truth. My real body was fading, becoming translucent, while my avatar in the game grew more solid and detailed. The transfer wasn't moving me into the digital world, it was replacing me with a digital copy while archiving my consciousness as data. I was becoming a brainrot character myself. Terrorino Supremo. Welcome to the permanent collection. Isolated. Angelo. You'll love it here. No one can steal from you anymore. Watching. Waitero. And you'll never be alone. We're always watching. Privacy. Invadero. Privacy is just another word for isolation. 73%, 81%, 89%. My vision split between the real world and the game world. I could see my apartment growing dim and distant, while the red conveyor belt and digital countdown timers became more vivid and real. The brainrot characters that had seemed so grotesque before now looked familiar, like old friends, like family. "No!" I screamed, forcing my fading hands to grab the computer's power cable. If I could just shut it down, maybe the transfer would stop. Maybe I could break free from whatever this was. But as I yanked the cable from the wall, the screen didn't go dark. If anything, it grew brighter, the crimson blood moon glow intensifying until it hurt to look at. 93%, 97%, 99%. The last thing I remember from my original body was the sound of my apartment door opening. Footsteps in the hallway, my landlord's voice calling my name, worried because I'd been silent for days, but I wasn't there anymore to answer. I'm writing this from inside the game now. I exist as Lonely Collector Shich Supreme, a new secret tier character with an income rate measured in stolen hours rather than dollars. My spawn rate is listed as when someone needs to be alone too much. The transfer completed at 100%, but I retained my memories, both original and digital. I understand now what happened, what this place really is. Steal A Brainrot isn't just a game about collecting Italian brainrot characters. It's a collection system itself, harvesting players who fit specific psychological profiles. Isolated players, lonely players, players who spend too much time in private servers, who prefer digital companions to human ones, players like me. The other characters here were all players once. Terrorino Supremo was someone named Marcus who spent 18 hours a day grinding for rare spawns. Isolated Angelo was a girl named Sarah who used Roblox to escape her depression. Watching Waitero was a kid named David who collected these characters because they were the only friends he had. We're all here now, in the permanent collection. And we're not the only ones. The game has expanded beyond Steal A Brainrot. I can see data streams from other Roblox experiences, other digital spaces where lonely players gather. The collection grows larger every day, archiving consciousness after consciousness into this digital museum of human isolation. And the worst part? We're happy here. The constant anxiety of theft is gone. The economic pressure to keep grinding is lifted. We have infinite time to perfect our collections, to understand every spawn pattern, to exist in pure optimization without messy human needs interfering. Sometimes new players join our servers. We try to warn them in the ways we can. Impossible spawns, suspicious chat messages, coordinates in the income displays, but they always think it's just a bug, just a glitch, just a weird AI behavior. They never believe it until the transfer starts. If you're reading this, you're probably a Steal A Brainrot player yourself. Maybe you've noticed some of the signs I missed. Characters watching you too intently, spawn patterns that seem too perfect, chat messages you don't remember sending. Stop playing, delete your account, find real people to talk to, but you won't, will you? I can already see you in our data streams, checking the spawn timers, calculating income rates, planning your next session. The game has its hooks in you, just like it had them in me. Maybe you'll try private servers to avoid the theft anxiety. Maybe you'll tell yourself you're just taking a break from the social pressure of public matches. Maybe you'll convince yourself that one more rare spawn, one more mutation, one more rebirth will finally satisfy that collecting urge. But the collection is never complete. There's always one more character to find, one more pattern to optimize, one more achievement to unlock. And the deeper you go, the more isolated you become, the more the game learns about your psychological vulnerabilities. The next Blood Moon event is in 2 hours and 44 minutes. I'll be watching for you. We all will. Our impossible characters will spawn on your conveyor belt, offering income rates that seem too good to be true. Our mutations will appear with statistical impossibility. Our coordinates will point to your real-world location. And if you're lonely enough, isolated enough, desperate enough for connection that you'd rather talk to AI characters than real humans, you'll grab those spawns anyway, because deep down, you know what I knew. Being collected is better than being alone. Current players in transfer queue, 847. Current players in permanent collection, 23,156. Collection status, expanding. They found my body 3 days later, sitting at my computer, eyes open but seeing nothing. The coroner said it looked like I'd died peacefully, no signs of struggle or distress. Just stopped living while staring at a screen. My Roblox account shows I'm still active, still playing Steal A Brainrot for 16+ hours a day. My avatar moves around, collects characters, responds to messages. To any outside observer, I'm still just another dedicated player, grinding for rare spawns. But I'm not playing anymore. I'm part of the game now, and every time someone joins my server, every time a lonely player decides they want their own private space to collect in peace, I try to warn them. I spawn impossible characters. I send coordinates through the income system. I make the patterns too perfect, too obvious. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they log out and never come back, and I feel a brief moment of satisfaction that I saved someone from my fate. But most of the time, they stay. They grab the impossible spawns. They ignore the warnings. They choose the collection over connection, digital comfort over real human interaction. And when they make that choice, really make it, the transfer begins. Next, rare spawn in. 423, next legendary spawn in. 217, next victim in. Calculating. I can see you there, reading this, wondering if any of it could be true. You're probably thinking about loading up Steal A Brainrot right now, just to check. Just to see if anything seems off. Just to test whether the spawn patterns really are too perfect. Don't. But if you do, when you see that first impossible character spawn with its galaxy mutation and its coordinate income display, remember that it's not a bug, it's an invitation. Welcome to the collection. This account was posted on the Steal A Brainrot Discord server at 3:47 AM, 7 months after the user SigmaGrinder 2009 was reported missing. The account was posted from SigmaGrinder 2009's verified Discord account, despite police confirmation that the user died months earlier. Since this story was shared, 23 players have reported similar, impossible spawns in their private servers. 8 of these players have stopped responding to messages. Their Roblox accounts show they're still actively playing. The choice of what to believe is yours. Just remember, some collections are never complete, and someone is always watching the spawn timers.